basically contractually obligated to wear this shirt. So like,
I can get behind that. I can get behind
Dwayne,
that.
you gotta get a contract on Paul to wear your shirt. That's where it's at.
Okay, I'm setting up the live stream. We are live.
All right, perfect. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Libertarian Party of New York Vice Chair Debates. I would first like to welcome our candidates for joining us tonight. I would also like to welcome our guests that are watching along on YouTube. My name is Steve Minogue. I am a current Vice Chair of the LPNY. My job, unfortunately, is sending me out to South Dakota, so I'm not running for your election. But we have some great candidates here tonight. I will be moderating this evening's debate. We will have 5 wonderful candidates who are seeking the two available vacancies, and I'm going to introduce them to you now. First up, we have Tucker Coburn. He's the Region 8 representative to the Libertarian National Committee. He's also the current first Vice Chair of the Libertarian Party of New York. He's also the former field director of the Larry Sharp campaign and the current campaign manager of Thomas Queter's campaign in New York 52. Next up, we have Peyton Kunzelman. He's the current chair of the Cattaraugus County Libertarian Party. He's also a PhD student at the University of Buffalo and has been a volunteer on multiple libertarian campaigns across the state. Next up is Dwayne Whitmer. He's an accountant. He's the current chair of the Erie County Libertarian Party, and he himself is running for Congress in New York's 27th. After that, we have Pietro Grassi. I hope I'm saying that right. He's the current chair of the Orange County Libertarian Party. He's also a skilled pianist and bagpipe player. And then finally, she's running a little bit late, but we're gonna have Susan Cummings. She's the vice chair of the Staten Island affiliate of the Libertarian Party of New York. She's the New York State Mises Caucus chair in New York State, and most recently served as the New York State delegate whip for the Jacob Hornberger campaign. Tonight's debate, we are going to break it down. There's gonna be opening statements from each candidate. That'll be 2 minutes each. Following that, we're gonna jump into the question and answer portion. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to the question. Every candidate will get the same question. And then finally, we will close with a 2 to 3 minute closing statements from each candidate. So let's get started. Tucker Coburn is up first, and he's gonna be making his opening statements. Tucker?
Hello, thank you for having me. So yes, as you just heard, I am the Region 8 representative to the National Committee. I'm currently the first vice chair of the party. I am actually also on Dwayne's campaign. I'm his assistant campaign manager right now, and I am the campaign manager for Tom Queter. Check out the campaign if you have not already. Also check out Dwayne's campaign. But yeah, so my past in the party, I really became involved through Larry Sharp's campaign. At that point, I decided to run for a party position, which I lost. And then I also became an at-large member of the then Free Libertarian Party corporation side. And then through there, kind of just spiraled into more and more roles in the party, obviously enjoying all of them. And I've always been fighting for professionalism within the party, working for our candidates, transparency, and making sure that we do all the administrative things that we need to do. I was instrumental in creating our first set of rules, which thankfully we have made some much needed amendments to since, and there are other members who have been more helpful in doing that. And I was also one of the people that helped out with assembling our party call, making sure our candidates knew how to petition and actually get on the ballot. So my goals for this party are pretty simple going forward, and there are 3 things. 1, running professional, winning candidates. It's why I'm working for Tom's campaign. I think that we actually have a chance to win this race, and I want to see more opportunities like that in the future. I want a party that is independent from the corruption of the duopoly. I do not want to see us use fusion as a crutch. And finally, I want a party that is more transparent and has better communication. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Tucker. Next, we're gonna go to Peyton Kunzelman. Peyton?
Thank you. So one of the biggest reasons that I decided to throw my hat into the race was I want to help cultivate a party that is welcoming and that fosters intense but very productive communication. Over my few years of involvement in the party, there has been a lot of hostility between others, and this is non-productive and lends itself to being more destructive than productive. And as one of the two vice chairs, I would hope to bridge the gap between miscommunications by providing resources and being able to act as a liaison if people are not communicating in an efficient manner that would A, damage our party, and B, just make it harder for serious candidates like Tom or Dwayne to grow and benefit as in their districts. And because of this, there's also some fundamental aspects that we have to change. I apologize if you can hear my ferret moving around in the background. So we need, as a party, to take a more serious look at doing outreach and fundraising. We have had a slow track record so far since the formation of the political party, but we are growing now and we need to keep this up, and I would hope to help cultivate that. Thank you, and I yield the remainder of my time.
All right, thank you so much, Peyton. Next up, we have Dwayne Whitmer. Go ahead, Dwayne.
First off, Colsty, I'm going to need you to change the thumbnail in the LPNY discussion group. It got me in a bad time and it looks really weird. First of all, second of all, my name is Dwayne Whitmer. I am the current chair of the Erie County Libertarian Committee, and I am New York's 27th congressional candidate for the Libertarian line. I was in the special and I'm in the November election, November general as well. The reason why I'm running for vice chair is because I got involved in this party because of Larry Sharp. I saw a lot of great candidates with a lot of potential that unfortunately, whether it's our small enrollment numbers, our small involvement numbers, or the lack of communication between chapters or state to local, they're not developing the support they need to run serious races. In Erie County alone, when I took over as chair in August of 2019 to today, we've almost doubled in enrollment. We've gotten more people involved and more people active by bridging the gaps and leaving the echo chamber that the Libertarian Party loves so much and actually networking with non-libertarians and getting them involved as well. So my run for vice chair is mainly to do three things: grow the party, grow fundraising, and win races. We need to start networking and growing our outreach by getting media. In the last year, I hate to do this. I love Larry and I hope he doesn't take offense to this, but this year I'm going to out Larry Sharp. He's doing the full Sharp where he does every county. Over the last 12 months, we've actually done more events than Larry will do this year. We've done 48 press events. My campaign's done a handful of meet and greets, but I've gotten press in Erie County almost every week. We've been in Rochester 3 or 4 times. We've been in Syracuse 2 or 3 times. We've been in Watertown. We've been in Albany a half dozen times. We've been downstate 4 or 5 times. Pretty much once a week, we're traveling to get press and attaching vice chair to the Libertarian Party to that. When people read those news articles, they're going to see the Libertarian Party and they're going to see that we're active. They're going to get involved. They're going to get fired up. They're going to be proud of what we're doing. I'm currently on 2 lawsuits against Andrew Cuomo, once in the Erie County Libertarian Committee, fighting Andrew Cuomo for the pistol permit regime. Another one is a federal lawsuit suing him for the lockdown. So we're doing activism in that way. So it's another way to get outreach to see that the Libertarian Party is fighting and we're doing. What else have we done this year? Suing Cuomo, growing party enrollment. We've done, I believe this year alone, we've done 3 attendance-wise of the largest events in the state have been through Erie County Libertarian Committee. We've had 85 people buy tickets to our February gala before the shutdown. I had 45 people at my event on Friday. So attendance-wise, we're getting people to come to these events. The ECLP before the shutdown.
You have to wrap it up, Dwayne. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, that's terrible. No, but I'll wrap it up. So that's me for now. You'll hear more about me through the debate. So.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Dwayne. Next up, we have Pietro. Go ahead, Pietro.
The chair sets the direction of our party. The chair leads our party and establishes the goals and objectives for our party. The vice chair's job is to support the chair in these endeavors and ensure that all the internal affairs are in order so the party can meet its goals. I'm running for vice chair of the Libertarian Party of New York because I feel that I have the administrative and leadership ability necessary to help get this done. As vice chair, I hope to be able to maintain constant communications with the subcommittees and the county affiliates to ensure that they are meeting their goals and objectives. This is what I did for 2 years as a state chair with Young Americans for Liberty. I oversaw chapters from all over the state, most of which I was not able to visit as I did not own a car and New York is a large state. I went to college in Poughkeepsie. I had a Yale chapter in Plattsburgh. That just wasn't happening. But I was able to maintain communications with them and work with them to grow their chapter and work with other chapters to grow their chapters, get people in the door, and execute events that made a difference on their college campuses. I know how to recruit people into this movement and convince them to fork over money for dues. I also think that we need to focus on local candidates. And I'm proud to say that our county affiliate has attracted 2 candidates interested in running in the next 2 years. One candidate for city council in Middletown and another for state senate in District 42. I think the city of Middletown candidate has a much better chance because of the increased ease of winning local races. Every dollar spent goes farther, every door knocked goes farther, every constituent spoken with goes farther. That's a winnable race, and I think we need to focus on local races so we can build a bench of elected libertarians who could then run for state legislature, Congress, and beyond. I hope to keep everything shipshape within the party to ensure that we are set on the track for success. Real leadership, real change. Piet for LPNY Vice Chair.
All right, thank you so much, Pietro. Andrew, do we have Susan yet?
Not yet.
All right, that is fine. She can jump in later. So it'll be the same order for the first question, and then each question, we will alternate the order a little bit. We'll just move down the list, and that person will go first. So first off is going to be Tucker. Tucker and everyone else will have the same question. As much as we may not like this, it costs money to play politics. Fundraising is going to be very important for this new state committee. How do you feel the party should go about raising funds moving forward? And any ideas about how to increase our donor base? And I'll give it to you, Tucker.
Yeah, so for me, this is pretty simple. And for me, most answers come down to one thing: candidates. As we are able to engage voters as a party, the best way to do that is by running candidates that people locally are able to identify with, that people that run as libertarians that say, I care about these local issues, and people will start to identify themselves either with those candidates or themselves as libertarians. So it is extremely important for the party to be running professional candidates. And once we're able to do that, we will then be able to build a donor base. I do not think that we are going to have much success building a donor base without successful candidates. People want to see results from a political party. And first we need to start producing those results.
All right, thank you so much, Tucker. Next, we're going to go to Peyton. Same question. Do you need it repeated, or are you good?
I'm good. Thank you, Steve.
All right.
So I do agree with Tucker on quite a large chunk of that. However, I think we have to play politics like the other parties do. You see the Republicans and Democrats jumping on favorable candidates that they have and making a whole event of it where they can go from, just a small event to making thousands of dollars. And the way we do that is through running professional candidates who have a large reach and have a large voice, if you will. So candidates like Dwayne and Tom, for example, are out there all the time and just getting the party name out there. And we take advantage of this and fundraise, especially if or when they are elected. We can continue to use their name as well in literature, in our marketing, and if they're willing, of course, to help us just further the goal, fundraise. And also something I think would be interesting that we could possibly do is we do have the pledging system currently over on the LPNY website where you can do monthly pledges, which once my first paycheck for this comes in, I intend on doing fully. but with the different tiers of pledging, there should be incentives, and maybe even, if you can recruit pledging, have incentives there, because everyone knows a nice incentive drives you to do something better, and hopefully that would help in the long run with either just nice LPNY shirts or nice little things you could get. Obviously, you need to iron that out and work with the fundraising committee and treasurer, but that'd be a step I'd love to implement and help implement. I yield the remainder of my time.
All right, thank you so much. Next up, we have Mr. Dwayne Whitmer. Same question.
Tucker's right. We do need candidates that are running, but also it's a multi-level attack. So I own an accounting firm, and doing my business, obviously you get people that come in and use me, and then they tell their friends and family. So that's the good candidates. But there's also multi-levels where it's media attention, it's direct action, it's direct citizen action, it's outreach, it's doing. So running great candidates is massive, because getting ballot access allows us to be taken more seriously because we're on the ballot. We're an official party. You can enroll as Libertarian. They see us more. But the media coverage is crucial because every 4 years, certain parties just run, they maintain ballot access, they keep going, whatever. Getting the media allows people who may not follow your candidates. We don't have a candidate in every race. We don't have a candidate in every county. So counties like Wyoming County that don't have an ICO, they don't have that outreach, they don't have the ability to run candidates there. We're still getting media there. So then they still know the Libertarian Party exists. So in areas where there aren't candidates, the media presence is crucial, as is the direct action. The lawsuit that I'm on against Andrew Cuomo got a brief, albeit short, mention on Fox News. But at least someone on Fox News acknowledged the Libertarian Party for like half a second. Thank you, Fox News. But it's more than just one thing. There's multiple levels of what we should be doing, is because, I came to the party because of Larry Sharp. Other people have enrolled because they've seen us essentially fighting Andrew Cuomo where their party isn't. They've seen us getting press. They've seen us on the lawsuit. They get interested in that way. The more ways we approach someone, good candidates, good media, good events, good outreach, the more willing they're going to be to get involved. So I do agree with Tucker. We do need good candidates that can provide a solid competition to the Reds and Blues. But the more things we do, whether it's press, whether it's events, whether it's direct citizen action, whether it's organizing events like park cleanups. I know Chris Zelensky's in Broome County right now rebuilding a playground, stuff like that, where we say, hey, look, the Broome County Libertarian Party, this is what they're doing. Anything that generates press, anything that gets good quality press, not offensive press, but good quality press, is going to grow our interest. So I add that too. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dwayne. Next up, we have Pietro. Same question.
I agree that we need good candidates to help us raise money, but we also need to be able to raise money to attract good candidates and give them the foundation and infrastructure they need to make a good quality run and win. And in order to do that, we're going to need a robust finance committee at the state level that can identify donors, cultivate relationships with donors, and ask for donations and actually obtain those donations. And we don't just have to go to corporations or wealthy individuals. So many small businesses around the state are suffering because of the COVID restrictions put into place by King Cuomo. And guess what? Both Democrats and Republicans voted to give away their legislative responsibilities and let King Cuomo do as he pleases, which is ruinous to our small businesses. Not to mention gun shops, bars, vape shops are already more likely to be on our side anyway. We can convince these business owners to donate to us because there's really no one else who stands up for them. Obviously not the Democrats. Republicans have no values. Sam is weak. The Independence Party is weak. And the Greens are not small business friendly. Where else are they going to turn? There's only one party that actually cares about New York small businesses and thinks they should be allowed to prosper with minimal interruption or minimal regulation by the state. And that's us, the Libertarian Party. If we can reach out to the thousands of small businesses that exist in this state and persuade them to invest in us, we will be able to invest in candidates who will actually win and go to Albany or go to their county seat or even the town council or what have you, and advocate for legislation that allows our small businesses to thrive and will make New York an attractive place to live, work, and retire once again. So yes, we do need candidates, but we also need to reach out to our small businesses and anyone else who is willing to invest in us. It's not just a donation, it's an investment. And if we can get that investment, we can grow our war chest and be able to adequately supply these good candidates so they have the infrastructure they need to win. And to do that, we need a finance committee at the state level, and I am happy to serve on that committee or chair it. And that's what we need to do. And we can get that money in, we can get this done.
Thank you so much, Pietro. All right, moving on to question 2. And I want to mention too to the audience, most of these questions all came from libertarians across the state. These are not questions that I just made up myself. These are coming from all of you. So this time we're going to start with Peyton. This question: cross endorsements have been a contentious issue within the party. 1, how do you feel about cross endorsing candidates in races where we don't have a libertarian running? And what can the party do to ensure we have libertarian candidates running in more local races? Because this is a 2-part question, you'll be allotted more time. Go ahead, Peyton.
Thank you, Steve. So cross endorsements, this is a topic I've seen quite the excitement it caused a lot of excitement over the last few years. It's no secret that Cattaraugus County, during our previous administration of the county party, cross-endorsed 90% of our candidates. We also ran individuals who wouldn't have ran before because they wanted a new party who agreed with their views. And I think that this is something that needs to translate. I didn't agree with our cross endorsements that we made. We sacrificed our principles and our values to hopefully get a little more grasp in the political scene. And in the long run, that doesn't accomplish anything. That just, oh yeah, the libertarians, they can just give us their ballot. We won't win. We won't get anywhere if we sacrifice our principles. And I think that's something that everyone here will agree on. We are a unique party for that reason, that we have such a well-defined platform and such a well-defined just party goal and mission to, stomp out government overreach and hopefully, mitigate and remove a lot of the force and coercion in government. And the other parties don't stand for that. And by cross-endorsing candidates at state, at the local level, county level, we're sacrificing that by being held in contempt, by just lying down and being like, you can step on us since you might get our name out there. And that is unacceptable. Steve, if you could repeat the second part, I'd really appreciate that because
Sure, yeah. Part 2 was what can the party do to ensure that we have libertarian candidates, purely libertarian candidates, running in more local races?
So, thank you. One of the big things this comes down to is just communicating and getting our name out there. There are a lot of fiscally conservative and socially liberal people out there in today's society, especially in what I'm familiar with rural upstate New York. There's a lot of people who are sick of seeing the government trample individuals. And frankly, they don't think they can do anything about it. And building up a support network that shows them that there is a party out there that stands for what you believe in. And, they might not even be enrolled. So, through this process, we boost our enrollment and also get quality individuals who can be these candidates that we need. I mean, think of it. I like to use Dwayne and Tom as an example, if you couldn't tell, because they're the first 2 that come to mind because I see Dwayne and I see Tucker wearing Tom's shirt. But they're 2 great libertarians who will not sacrifice their principles, who will just go out there and actually communicate with people. And yeah, we need more people like them. and they both came through on different ways, and I think that's wonderful. And it was all from the outreach and communication. So that is how I believe we can continue to get more principled libertarian candidates. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Next up, we're going to have Dwayne Whitmer. It's the same question. Do you want me to repeat the question, Dwayne?
Yeah, repeat it real quick.
All right, so cross endorsements have been a contentious issue within the party. One, how do you feel about cross endorsing candidates in races where we don't have a libertarian running? And what can the party do to ensure that we have libertarian candidates running in more local races?
So as far as cross endorsements go, I used to be on the fence about them, and now I'm more staunchly anti-cross endorsing. Mainly because if we cross endorse the Republican, we cross endorse a Democrat. As a candidate myself who's done a lot of canvassing, most of the conversations I have is explaining to someone what a libertarian is. So if we're cross endorsing Reds, we're cross endorsing Blues, it's diluting exactly what we are. Not enough people know who we are, what we stand for, to vote for us based on principle. That being said, I think it's up to the county. As the state vice chair, I wouldn't support us telling a county how to run their chapters. Here in Erie County, we would have cross-endorsed only 2 candidates. One because I believe we could put them over the top in a pretty close race, and another one because we're fighting nepotism. So we would have cross-endorsed 2 candidates. Neither of them collected signatures because of COVID. So we don't have any cross-endorsed candidates this November. And as far as running more candidates, to be honest with you, here in Erie County, we're doing something a little bit differently. We don't care about the number of candidates. We're going to focus on a handful of strategic races where we can put all our limited resources. In Erie County, there's now 1,200. I think we're the second largest chapter in the state. There's 1,230 libertarians. Started with 700 when I took over. And so what I like to do is I'm looking at upcoming races and picking ones that are going to either generate a lot of press or are non-contested races and trying to get involved into their more two-way races. I know Queter's doing that. He's in a two-way race. Just ways to get more media and press and putting our resources behind that, because we don't have the ability to run 50, 60 candidates in Erie County. We just don't have enough people. Reds and Blues are paid to campaign. They're part of the machine. They're paid to have their positions, so then they're paid to campaign to keep those positions. Libertarian Party doesn't have that ability. So what we're going to do here is focus on a handful of quality races and get candidates that have the time, the money, the energy, and the ability to campaign. We're not just going to run paper candidates to have names on a ballot. We're going to get massacred if we do that. We want to focus on strategically running candidates that are going to get press, that are going to get votes, and can put the time in to do the outreach. The reason why we don't cross-endorse anymore in Erie County is we cross-endorsed 20 candidates last year. And as soon as they got cross-endorsed, they haven't came to a single meeting. They haven't done nothing for the Libertarian Party. They've done nothing for outreach. They've done nothing to help us grow. I don't want to be the Democrat or Republicans' plan B. I don't want to be their moped line where they're willing to show up to meetings until they get the line, and as soon as they get it, they fail to acknowledge we exist. I want to be taken seriously as a threat to their positions and to their parties. And by working with them and just bending over and taking and allowing them to take our line and not getting anything back, it makes us look weak, in my opinion. That again being said, county chapters still have the right to do what they feel is necessary. I just feel like that's what we're doing here in Erie County. So thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. Next up, we have Pietro. Same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
All right. So cross endorsements have been a contentious issue within the party. One, how do you feel about cross endorsing candidates in races where we don't have a libertarian running? And what can the party do to ensure that we have libertarian candidates running in more local races?
I support cross-endorsing candidates who fit the libertarian bill, who are libertarian enough that they could potentially perhaps register libertarian or at least represent libertarian views in public. Our affiliate in Orange does vet its candidates. We don't just give a cross endorsement to everybody who comes through the door. We have rejected candidates, and we have endorsed several Republicans, a Democrat, and even an independent, although that independent then registered Sam and ended up being rejected by the state anyway because Westchester endorsed another candidate. That's a whole other story. But we are willing to endorse candidates of any party. We're certainly not just Republicans backup or Democratic backup. That's not who we are. We take it seriously. and of course we prefer to have our own candidates, but where we don't, we are willing to consider other candidates. And I know Dwayne mentioned that they cross-endorsed candidates and then they just left and never returned. Well, I invited the 3 cross-endorsed candidates this year to our county convention. 2 of them said they would be there. 1 of them has military duty, so he can't be there, but he is sending a surrogate. And it's also worth noting that a cross-endorsed candidate from last year plus 1 from this year showed up at our Larry Sharp event in January. And one of the candidates we cross-endorsed this year, her daughter just registered Libertarian. So there is some value to cross-endorsements because not only can we convince people to register Libertarian or perhaps open their minds to the possibility of registering Libertarian, but we can forge alliances. Maybe not so much with the 2 major parties because they're the ones who made such a huge mess out of this state, but certainly our weaker parties like the Greens, the Independents, SAM, or even non-affiliated candidates, we can forge alliances. We can grow all those parties because I don't think we should have a 3-party system. I think we should have a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, however many parties want to be existent. Political scene. We need multiple parties, not just 3. And one of the ways we can accomplish that is by cross endorsements. So long as we have candidates who are libertarian and don't support using the state to crush people's will or to have bureaucrats impose their will on everybody else, we're happy to consider them. And we'll see. And we do keep tabs on our cross endorsed candidates. And if we find that they do something that's grotesquely not libertarian, well, we're going to note that and we will consider that when they come knocking next time asking for a cross endorsement. But as far as getting native libertarian candidates to run, first off, you need a large base. You need a large affiliate, you need a large membership. You have to grow in order to attract candidates because we also need people to help with those campaigns. We need people to door knock, we need people to phone bank, we need people to send text messages and volunteer and do everything that goes into a campaign. And so you can't run candidates without an infrastructure to back them up. So we have to establish that. We need to bring people into the party and we need to expand our outreach. We need to get marginalized people in our party. Why do the Democrats have a monopoly on marginalized groups? That makes no sense. Democrats don't care about them. They just use them for votes and then they abandon them. We are the only party with policies that would actually make a positive difference in marginalized communities and give them the tools they need to thrive. So we definitely need to be expanding our outreach to marginalized communities and getting those folks in the party. Republicans, of course, don't care about them. Democrats pretend to care. There's no reason why they should have any appeal to these people. We are the party of liberation, and we need to get those folks in the door and get these folks running for office as libertarians. It's great for media. It's great in the eyes of the electorate. And I think it will go a long way in growing our party.
Thank you, Pietro. All right, Tucker, same question. Would you like it repeated?
I'm all set.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Tucker.
Okay. So I think I alluded to this a little bit in my opening. I'm firmly in favor of a party that is independent from the corruption of the 2 major parties. And in doing so, I think that we should firmly reject fusion entirely. And I just want to say very quickly, the reason for this is beyond all the corruption and all of the insaneness that exists in the Democrat and Republican parties in New York. I would like to remind everyone here and anyone listening that the Democrats and Republicans voted to increase our vote threshold and our petitioning threshold so that basically it makes it very, very, very difficult for us to survive as a party. And then when we beat that in November, not if, when we beat that in November, we should not turn around and reward them, say, oh, we made it over your increased barrier, but here's our line again. We need to make a firm stand against the corruption and just the forces that are trying to keep us off the ballot, and we cannot be supporting Democrat and Republican candidates. And that's what our line is. It's a piece of support. Most candidates, I hate to break it to anyone here, I know that Pietro, you think that you've had success with candidates that are going to be engaged with the party. I think there are better ways to engage candidates in the party. I want them to enroll as libertarians and then they can run on our line. I do not think that people are very much influenced by a party line, with some exception. The arguments for fusion are either one, that as Dwayne mentioned, we should leave it up to the counties. I actually disagree with this. I'm sorry, Dwayne. I don't think that there is a good freedom of association argument here as a private organization. I think that we as a party can say that we will not play in this insane game that the Democrats and Republicans set up so that they can battle over our party. I think that we should be fighting them. The second one is influence. The WFP, as someone might mention, or anyone arguing in favor of fusion, is actually pretty good at influencing the Democratic Party. The Conservative Party is pretty good at pushing the Republican Party further to the right. However, these two parties operate within that left-right dynamic, and we do not. We are firmly against authority. We're firmly against authoritarians, which is what the two major parties are. The Independence Party, you could argue, maybe is a fusion party. I think that they're just a corrupt party. The third thing that we should be considering with fusion is that honestly, we spend so much time considering whether we should cross-endorse candidates or not, as taking away from actually helping our hard-fighting candidates. We should be really focusing and rallying around our libertarian candidates. That includes Dwayne, who I know needs a lot of support. That includes Tom, who I definitely know needs a lot of support. And going forward, that includes all of our candidates that we're going to have on the ballot that are running as libertarians. Let's have them re-enroll as libertarians if they want to be on our line, and then they can run on our line. So addressing the second part, and this is important because the only other party in New York right now that outright rejects fusion is the Green Party. And we know as the Libertarian Party, the Green Party is not very effective in affecting change in New York. They don't run many candidates. They don't get much media attention. They're just not a very impactful party. And we don't want to fall into that trap. So again, I bring it down to candidates, and Pietro talked about this a little bit. In order to build up our party's infrastructure, in order to build up our knowledge about running competitive campaigns, and in order to get candidates interested in switching parties and thinking that they can win as a libertarian, we need to run competitive candidates. That means right now, if you're listening to this, please go out, look up your local candidates, support them, donate to them if you can. If you can't volunteer, at least share their information on social media. It starts this year. And from there, we can keep building our party up.
Thank you, Tucker. We now have Susan with us. So Susan, because you weren't here for opening statements, I will give you an extended amount of time for your closing statements. But I'm going to ask you this question that the other candidates were just asked. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Beautiful. All right. So cross endorsements have been a contentious issue within the party. One, how do you feel about cross-endorsing candidates in races where we don't have a libertarian running? And what can the party do to ensure we do have libertarian candidates running in more local races?
Cross-endorsing candidates is a mistake. If you're a libertarian, you probably don't belong on the Republican or the Democratic line. And if you are a Democrat or a Republican, you probably don't represent libertarian values very well. I think cross-endorsing candidates is a mistake and almost always leads to confusing our messaging and or poor candidates for the Libertarian Party. If I could do anything to increase the amount of candidates the Libertarian Party has running, I would first encourage each and every one of you to consider yourself. You're probably more qualified, better organized, and prepared to run your own life and operate in government than the government officials that are there right now. They have no idea what they're doing. They don't do a better job than you. And then in addition, I guess we have to fundraise and financially support the people that do identify as libertarian and do a good job. So I guess my biggest goals would be to organize fundraising and invest in long-term monetary goals for candidate support within the state of New York and only endorse and support libertarian ideals, messaging, and candidates.
All right, thank you so much, Susan. All right, going on to the next question. This time we're starting with Dwayne. During the Sharp campaign, we had a lot of converts come to us. Who did I accidentally? Okay, I accidentally stopped my video. During the Larry Sharp campaign in 2018, we had a lot of converts come to us from the other major two parties, as well as some independents. People often get told, especially in some of the groups that we're in, that they're not a real libertarian. Do you believe in a libertarian litmus test? And if so, what would that be? This was a user or a libertarian submitted question that I got on Facebook.
So the First Amendment allows freedom of association. So the libertarian litmus test is if you go to the Board of Elections and check the box that says you're libertarian. We can do the echo chamber arguing and you're not a real libertarian, yada, yada, yada. To be honest, it's a waste of time. That's one thing that I've done quite well, I believe, when I took over ECLP. We kind of got rid of the people that we had to fight to keep as part of the party, to fight to keep to stay involved. And I focused on finding people with the similar goals, which was growing the party, growing fundraising, and winning races. I bridged gaps with 2A NYS and Jim Ostrowski, who's a writer, by the way, if you don't know who Jim Ostrowski is. You know, Jim Ostrowski had actually given up on the party for 25 years, and my campaign and my taking over ECLP brought him back. And I think a lot of candidates, and potentially us in November, if we win the lawsuit against Cuomo, who Jim Ostrowski is our attorney, a lot of libertarians will be happy that Jim Ostrowski came back. The litmus test, the infighting, that you're not a real libertarian, isn't helping grow our party and isn't helping any of the goals we have, and that's grow the party, grow fundraising, win races. Majority of us have not been libertarians our whole life. A majority of us came from other parties. I've been part of the Democrat, Republican, and conservative parties before I became a libertarian. So a lot of people that want to get involved are going to slowly but surely become more libertarian as they get involved. Scaring them away before they can get their feet wet is not helping our cause. Arguing with them, attacking them, putting them down, insulting them, again, is not helping our cause as a party. We have to determine if we want to be a social club or a political organization that wins races and is taken seriously by other people besides libertarians. So that's my opinion on the litmus test. We're all going to be different levels of libertarian. As long as we can fight the state and not each other, we can keep this going. But as soon as we start infighting and putting each other down and saying that we're not as libertarian as XYZ, we're not reaching new voters, we're scaring them away. How many times do we see in the New York discussion group people say, you know, Libertarian Party is a joke, and then we attack each other, then we infight, and there's 400 comments. That's time we could be spending doing press releases, planning events, doing events, and actually reaching potential voters. It's an absolute waste of time, and we need to turn the page and grow as a party and start being a threat to the Republicans and Democrats. Stop the infighting and start working together.
Thank you very much, Dwayne. Pietro, same question. Do you need it repeated?
Yes, please.
All right. So during the Sharp campaign, we had a lot of converts come to us from the other major two parties, as well as some independents. People often get told that they're not a real libertarian. Do you believe in any kind of libertarian litmus test? And if so, what would that be?
Well, the Libertarian Party has ruled that all cats are libertarians, and that idea has not been disputed. So therefore, I'd say that only cats are the true libertarians. But in all seriousness, the phrase, "you're not a real libertarian," has to die. It's divisive, it hinders growth, it's dilatory. We need to get rid of it. To be a libertarian, it's simple, really. Anyone who believes that man is better capable, more capable, and better able to direct his own life than some faraway bureaucrat, and any man who believes that they are free to do what they wish with their mind, their body, their property, or their money, so long as they do not hurt other people or take their stuff, that man is a libertarian. And if they get involved with us, they will come around to our ideas and essentially become what we consider to be libertarian. And if they don't, well, then they never really believed in those ideas to begin with. I think it's up to the individual to determine whether or not they are a libertarian. It's not up to any of us. There's so many different ideas of what it means to be a libertarian. You might say it's a social construct, but in any case, it's not for me or anybody else to say whether another person is a libertarian. Only that person knows whether or not they are a libertarian. And if they are, they will find a home here in the Libertarian Party. And if not, we're not going to give them the boot. They will eventually realize for themselves that they're not actually libertarians, and they will go and find a new party or no party. So any sort of litmus test is absurd and dilatory and should be tossed in the trash, incinerated, and be gone forever.
Thank you, Pietro. Susan Cummings, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
You could, yeah, you could. Repeat it.
Sure. Yeah. So during the Sharp campaign, we had a lot of converts come to us from the other major two parties, as well as some independents. People often get told that they're not a real libertarian, especially some of the newer ones. Do you believe in a libertarian litmus test? And if so, what would that be?
I do believe that there's a litmus test, and it is, do you believe in the state being able to use force or violence to create a political end? And if you do believe that, then I don't believe that you're a libertarian. I want, my litmus test is voluntary interactions, and in addition, nonviolence. And if you do believe in those things, then you belong here. And if you believe that the state can use force or violence for social or political ends, then I don't think you belong here. And that's how I feel. We should weed out or decide whether people are or are not libertarians. But that doesn't mean that we should be screaming at them in or on the internet, or barring them from meetings or anything like that. It just means that I do believe that there are political beliefs you can hold that bar you from being a libertarian.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Susan. Tucker, same question to you.
Great, thanks. So this sort of kind of back and forth on Facebook and that sort of thing is why I try to stay off of it as much as I can. I would encourage libertarians to be more active in helping out their local candidates again, helping out their local parties instead of sitting on Facebook and just arguing with one another. I really am disheartened every time I see that. As a party, I think that we do have basic principles. As Pietro and Susan both alluded to, we believe that we can run our lives better than the state can. And if you believe that the state is a proper vehicle to try to reduce or restrict the actions of other people, I don't believe that you are a libertarian yet. I do believe that we can turn you into a libertarian. And I am very happy when I see people that are not libertarians coming out and supporting our candidates, because it's an opportunity that as they listen to more of our views and as they listen to us speak on the issues, they can hear, wait, I'm against the police coming to take my guns, but I'm in favor of the police stepping on someone else, and hear that doesn't really click well. And I believe that as we expose more people to the contradictions in their own viewpoints, respectfully, not on Facebook yelling at each other, that we can then create more libertarians. But I do believe there is some amount of a basic litmus test. And for me, that means that if, for example, if Governor Cuomo said, I'm a libertarian, I'd say, no, you're not. Like, you're not. Like, there is some amount of a bar that you're too far gone. Governor Cuomo will never be a libertarian. So there is some bar. For me, it's it's very lenient, because I want to make sure that people engage in the party and can become libertarians.
Thank you so much, Tucker. All right, next we're going to go to Peyton. Same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Oh, thank you, Steve.
All right.
Thank you. So as long as you are not an individual or a candidate directly threatening the use of force or telling the state to use force or any coercive means to achieve a political goal, then I believe you are or can become a libertarian. And now, like everyone else has said, we need to work on how we communicate this and how we can allow people to grow through this litmus test, if you will, of, contradictions. Like Tucker said specifically, that stood out to me as something that I was thinking that, one of the first things that I personally saw with like my political viewpoints was, oh wow, there's a lot of contradictions, because I was like, like I have free markets, but how can you have total liberty on that if they're stepping on your neck on so many different aspects? And that's one of the things that really, with that Larry brought home to me, that drove me to the Libertarian Party. And I know that if we have effective communicators like our candidates or even party leadership that can demonstrate this to other people, this will be the catalyst we need to help diffuse and eliminate this Facebook litmus test that you see every day in the discussion groups. And I hope, I know we all haven't been perfect in aiding in this process, but I hope, even after this discussion, we can continue to do what Dwayne has said. It's just, let's use the time to be more productive and, take the energy that you spend fighting with someone to either have a friendly conversation or find a liaison that could communicate, or use it to do something for your party at a county level, and maybe have an event that could spread these ideals and be able to have this discussion with other people. I know in Cattaraugus County we have a lot of people who are Republicans who, oh, I don't like the government, but then support the Republican Party, who has done nothing, especially in New York State, to limit the government. And I know it's not, we haven't grown as nearly as much as, Monroe or Erie County off the top of my head, numbers wise, but I know I've had a few discussions, and I know some of our other officers have had discussions with people, and we never shot them down saying, you're not a real libertarian because, you're currently a Republican. We wanted to promote the growth and promote the thinking and challenge them to think critically about these misconceptions that they have. And that's what we need to be promoting as the state committee and as libertarians, I believe. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Peyton. We're going to move on to our next question. Pietro will be the first to respond to this. Do you believe the state party does a good job supporting our candidates who are running for office across the state? If not, what would you propose that we can do better?
I have to be honest, I don't really know. I'm not in touch with any campaigns. I mean, I am part of Thomas Queter's campaign, but I don't really know what assistance the state has been giving, if any. And I suppose Tucker and Dwayne could probably answer that a little better. But as far as assistance the state could give, the state committee could give, I would say we need to organize people to door knock, to make phone calls, to send text messages, and run campaign machinery, and a lot of which can be done remotely. And we need to zero in on our winnable races, such as Thomas Queter's race. That's a very winnable race. I think he's got a good shot there. And direct interested volunteers to those areas. It's true, maybe we're not going to be able to get too many door knockers because we don't have the funds to pay full-time door knockers like the Republicans do and the Democrats do. But there's still a lot of impact you can make by phone banking, through policy research, opposition research, through sending text messages and interacting voters remotely. And during the time of COVID, people aren't going to mind remote interactions because that's what we've been doing for the last several months. As much as people would like to get out again, people will understand why door knocking is not happening, and they're more than happy, I think, to talk to somebody over the phone or through text. And we should really be directing our resources and our volunteers to these winnable campaigns. And where we don't really have winnable races, maybe we should ignore those. And I don't like the idea of ignoring them, but we really need to focus on the more winnable races, especially our local races. I really don't know how winnable a congressional race is, especially if there are 3 candidates. It's just a lot more work. There's a lot more outreach necessary, a lot more money necessary, and it's a much harder race to win. And there's not much the state committee can do right now with such a low war chest and now resources, inadequate resources. And which brings me to another point. We need money, and we already talked about financing and growing our war chest, but we're not going to be able to win most of our races without money. And so certainly I think if the state committee can legally, I don't know too much about campaign finance, but legally direct funds to campaigns or somehow contribute that doesn't violate campaign finance laws, the state committee should be doing that. And we need a committee on this. I believe there's already a subcommittee that has to do with campaigns and candidates, but we really need to turn up the dial there. It should be robust. I'm happy to serve on that committee too. That's fine. But it should be folks who have experience with campaigns. For example, I attended Young Americans for Liberty's Liberty Candidate Academy, as well as several trainings by the Leadership Institute, and now I'm part of a state Senate campaign. So I have some of the know-how necessary to bring to the table and get candidates elected. And we need more folks going to, and perhaps the state committee can sponsor Leadership Institute trainings, Young Americans for Liberty trainings. Reclaim New York was doing trainings. I don't really know what they're up to nowadays, but that's an organization we should be reaching out to, and we should be cooperating with think tanks and activism organizations and organizations like the Leadership Institute to work with candidates because they have the resources. They have people who've been through the ringer, successful candidates, successful campaign staffers, and they know how to make this work. They know how to be of assistance, and perhaps they'd be willing to give us a discount on some of this or even free trainings. And the more we cooperate with outside groups and deliver resources and steer volunteers towards winnable campaigns, the more we are likely to win and populate local and state and potentially the federal government with elected libertarians.
All right, thank you so much, Pietro. Susan, same question to you. Do you need it repeated?
Yes, please repeat it.
Sure. So do you believe the state party does a good job supporting our candidates who are running for office across the state? If not, what would you propose that we can do better?
I don't think the state party does a good job at the moment, and I don't think that's any one particular person's fault, or that I don't really think there's any blame here. I think that the state party is just going through growing pains and seeing a lot of changes in leadership, and unfortunately, no, they haven't done a good job of supporting candidates and campaigns or fundraising. I guess what I would do different is I would have more people and hope to invest in long-term relationships with the Libertarian Party, the state party. So if you are a New York State Libertarian and you want to be involved in the state party, I hope that you have a long track record of showing that you can support candidates and organize fundraising, having events, and maybe be more selective about the people that we admit into a situation where they're administering our support. And it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I guess that's what I would focus on. That would be my goal, is the more mature, the more time they have on their hands, the more experience. I would just try and enroll those people into the state party and have, them lead us, because I don't think it's any one particular person's fault, but we have failed our candidates for years. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Tucker Coburn, same question to you. Do you need it repeated?
No, I'm good.
All right.
So this is probably my largest gripe with the party. And while I would love to try to defend the party as its first vice chair now, no, I do not think that we do a good enough job supporting our candidates. And I know that intimately, both from working on Dwayne's campaign and on working for Tom's campaign. I'm just going to keep plugging our candidates because we really need to do that. And it's something that the state party does not do well enough. We don't talk about our candidates on social media. We don't have an active campaign support team, as Pietro mentioned. These are things that we need to be doing as a party, especially in election season, to try to boost our candidates out. And the latest thing for me is kind of the most basic level, in my opinion, that right now I'll try not to include too much interim state committee stuff. But at the last meeting, I was hoping to create a constituted committee because we need that in order to work with our candidates. We need that in order to be able to donate to our candidates if we want to, and we have the funds from the state party. And it's not something we currently have. Right now, we just have a housekeeping committee. So that failure in of itself, I hope to succeed in getting that created in our next meeting. But it speaks a lot to our inability to help our candidates to this point. And I think one of the reasons that I am an asset to the party is because I'm familiar with these details. I both know the campaign side. I'm running a campaign right now, and I like to think I'm doing at least a decent job. But also from the administrative side, I understand what we need to do as a party in order to move forward and hopefully continue to progress in being able to help our candidates, because there are a lot of barriers that the duopoly puts in place to try to make it so that we are not able to function without having an insane amount of donations or an insane amount of favors like they do. So it's, it's hard to pick up something like that so quickly. I think it will take a few more years before the party is able to really start supporting its candidates. But it comes down to just us here and everyone listening and anyone that's on the state committee and in the party leadership talking about our candidates. Even if our state party is not able to do it yet, we can. So we can say, go support Dwayne. We can say, go support Tom. We can say, go support any of our wonderful candidates in New York State. And I hope that you do.
All right, thank you so much, Tucker. Now we're going to go to Peyton. Same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Oh, thank you.
All right.
So there's only so much we can do for our candidates without being unfair, if you will. I can name on top of my head 10 campaigns that I would love to spend time on, and I think the state committee would love to spend time on, but it's not feasible to pool all of our assets while managing, they have to deal with like coordinating the national campaign and having to coordinate a gubernatorial campaign in certain years. And, it just won't be fair for some of the candidates, even at the state level. And we don't want to screw them over. I know, plug our candidates because we should all be doing that. Dwayne, I know Tom, Tim O'Connor off the top of my head. These are people that we have plugged on our state social media, but not nearly enough, especially with, our engagements. We've on Twitter had some decent posts, but we're not doing as much, I feel, on the Facebook side of it. And also, as Tucker said, with the financial support, there are things that we could do, and those are things we haven't done yet. I'd love to see it happen. I have no authority right now to make that happen because I'm not on the interim state committee. I hope that, we could file that file the appropriate paperwork that we have to jump through to make it so we could, potentially financially support candidates and campaigns. I don't know a whole bunch about that aspect. I know how to work with amazing people that do know that, though, which is, I feel, one of my stronger suits in this aspect of I might not know directly what to do, but I know 5 people off the top of my head that I could point to, and they do. And in a leadership position, when you don't know the answers, that's what you need to do. And I feel like that'd be my benefit to this. But yeah, for those watching, go plug your local candidates and go plug some of our amazing candidates on social media. They'd appreciate it. I'd appreciate it. Tony D'Orazio would appreciate it. The whole state would. Yeah. Woohoo.
All right. Thank you, Peyton. And next up, finally, we have Dwayne Whitmer. Same question. Would you like it repeated?
No, I got it. This is actually, this question is actually why I decided to run for this office. Does the state party support our candidates properly? Absolutely not. I say this as a candidate and as someone who's on the state committee currently. The state committee has failed at about almost everything it's done. And I'm not saying that to offend people or upset people. Let's talk about what the state committee has done for candidates in Erie County. When I took over as chair of Erie County, we had 19 cross-endorsed candidates. They were thrown off the ballot. Why? Because our forms were incorrect. We submitted our candidates earlier in the year. The forms had changed multiple times throughout the summer, and no one on the state committee's leadership decided to communicate to Erie County and other counties that have already submitted paperwork that your forms are incorrect. Luckily, Erie County was the only county that got caught. I actually did a project that I canceled because Allegheny County, where we had a victory, and another candidate in a different county where we had another victory, another libertarian in office, their forms were also incorrect, and the Board of Elections in those counties let it slide. So it cost me $2,000 out of my own pocket, and Jim Ostrowski and I fought it in court to maintain our candidates, to keep them on a ballot, and we got massacred in court because our forms were incorrect. No one in leadership communicated to the chair of Erie County that the forms had changed. Then 6 months later, I'm running to be in a special. Our rules are incorrect. If it wasn't for Tony D'Orazio, Andrew Colston, I believe Tucker, standing up to our current chair, I would not have been in the special election because our rules did not allow me to be in the election. And if it wasn't for people, Tony D'Orazio overruled the ruling of the chair. And if that didn't happen, he would have successfully stalled to keep me off the ballot. It still cost me $5,000 out of my own pocket to fight it in court because they still did not listen. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. Why this is happening is because we're putting people in leadership because they're nice, because we're friends, because we care about their feelings. We are not putting people who are qualified and have the time, money, energy, and resources to learn the position and do the position properly. We do not communicate with local chapters properly. Chapters do not communicate with surrounding chapters properly. And this is why we're failing our candidates. We cannot support good candidates if we do not work together. Picture the Ben Franklin join or die snake right now. We are 30 whatever ICOs working independently and not working together to fight a machine that has us outnumbered, outgunned, out fundraised, outmanned. We're trying to be like the 300 and we're ending up like a bunch of people running a blockbuster. We're not doing things properly because we're not putting the right people in positions where they can succeed and do what needs to be done. This is why I decided to run. I have the time, money, and energy to communicate with all the local chapters to make sure we are organized and working together, to make sure we are supporting each other. The state committee doesn't have the funds right now to support a lot of candidates. That's okay. How do we raise funds? We get out of the libertarian echo chamber. How do we do that? Like Tucker said, with good candidates, but also with media and direct action. Erie County Libertarian Committee raised $1,000 this year because of the lawsuit we're on against Andrew Cuomo's shutdown. People from all over the state mailed money to the Erie County Libertarian Committee to help us in the lawsuit against Andrew Cuomo. They saw the media coverage we got. We got media coverage across the state. People saw it, sent us money. They're not enrolled libertarians. I have no idea who the hell they are. I thank them for their checks. I still don't know who they are. I sent them a thank you letter. Haven't heard back since. But we're raising money outside of the echo chamber by getting media and by doing direct action. We need to put people in place that are going to succeed and help the party grow. And so, no, we don't do a lot of things right because let's be honest, when I joined the ISC, I was begged to be on it. I didn't want to be on it at the time. I was pretty pissed off that all my candidates were going to be thrown off a ballot and I got to spend $2,000 out of my own pocket to fight for it. So I joined kind of begrudgingly, ready to be mad. And so we don't do a lot of things right. That is correct. We are learning. Someone said we have growing pains. That is also correct. Unlike the Republicans and Democrats, we are not paid to do this. We are not paid to campaign. We are not paid to support campaigns. We are a bunch of volunteers fighting a well-established and well-oiled machine. there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be problems. There's going to be issues. Someone mentioned we're not mentioning candidates on social media. Well, that's because my social media manager, Maura Botsford, was mysteriously removed as admin of the page all of a sudden, randomly one day. No one told her why. We're pushing out volunteers. Look, if you're unhappy with what's going on, you have the right to do so. Get involved and let's work together to fix these problems. We can do that. There's not many of us, but a handful of well-coordinated, well put together people can make a huge difference. It doesn't have to be just financially. If you have some extra time and you want to volunteer to run the social media page, get involved. Let's do it together. Let's work together. So there's my time. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Dwayne. We have two more questions. This one came in over Facebook Messenger. So some people have talked about, and some of you guys have touched on this already, about a lack of communication between the county organizations and the state committee. Now, what steps will be taken to ensure that each county has all the information necessary to form a legal committee under the new under our new status under election law? And we're going to start this off with Susan.
All right. So honestly, I have no set answer for this. I would have to build some kind of communication network. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I guess we would have to do more communicating. I like to over communicate. I repeat myself, and I'll send you a message, and then I'll send it again. The reason being is because over my life, I've learned that very few people really understand what you're saying. I guess we'd have to build a communication network. I know there's an email that goes out from the state committee, and I guess we could appoint one person in each chapter or affiliate to update the members to the best of their ability. But we should have more accessible communications. So maybe not just an email, maybe, a phone call or a text message that has the most important, libertarian update for the state of New York. But we would have to build a communication network, something that people want to check in and understand. And I think that part of the problem was how many people were fighting and uninterested in helping the affiliates, and it was very hard to check in on the communications and feel that you were spending your time wisely and or getting anything done over the past, I guess, 2 to 3 years. And I think that maybe one of the best things that we can do is to stop fighting, and it will make communicating a lot easier. A hierarchy within the organization and assigning somebody to communicate the information, that is the best answer I can give.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Susan. We're going to go on to Tucker. Same question.
Yeah, so for me, this starts off with more open communication. As an interim state committee, I feel like we have been way too guarded against people being able to see our meetings. We've been way too guarded against people being able to see our minutes. For a while, we had a incomplete set of minutes that we refused to change until I fought to make sure that we actually had accurate minutes to reflect our meetings. We have not done a good job because we have been scared of the two parties being able to use something from our meetings against us. And while I understand the risk of takeover and the risk of the other parties fighting against us, we need to recognize that they're always going to be fighting against us, but we need to be fully communicating with our members. So 2 things that I pushed for in the past, and I will continue to push for, though I have figured out I do not have enough support from the current body, are 1, having our minutes on the website. Yes, this means that anyone from any party can view our minutes. I think that that is a good thing. If someone from a county wants to get access to our minutes, we need them to be able to easily have access to those minutes. It's not a big deal. The second thing is live streaming our meetings. I know that there are some people that feel like there is an issue with a lack of professionalism within our body, and we don't want to showcase that. The easy solution to that is making sure that we act more professionally as a body, not that we don't allow people to view our meetings. So for me, starts with more open communication. But I want to address a second part of the question, which is how do we form more legal county committees? So we do have an issue with communication with our counties, but I think one of the things that has been lost in translation in there is that we created our rules so that if it's difficult to form a county committee, or if you live in a county that is extremely large, like Westchester, or I mean, really any of the counties downstate, you do not need to form a county committee. You do not need to form a legal county committee. This is why, as a state party, we have county organizations. And I was one of the driving forces in bringing that about into our rules. It's how other minor parties are able to have participation and autonomy in their counties without having to comply with the insane restrictions in election law. Basically, if you get 9 libertarians together in a county and you have past the enrollment threshold, you're able to form a county organization, and you have the same power as a county committee does. And this is in our rules right now. And I know that there's been a push to form county committees. And while it is great to be able to fully function within the confines of our restrictive election law, I do think it needs to be emphasized that if we are taking time away from working for our candidates or working for our legislative purposes, and instead we are trying to form legal county committees because we feel like we are not well defended otherwise, I just want to clear the record that that's not the case. County organizations have the same power and have the same legal authority as county committees through our state party rules, functionally at the very least. So I do want to make sure that we're not pushing for things that are ultimately hurting us, because as Dwayne mentioned, we're all volunteers. We all have limited time. So we need to make sure that we're using that time efficiently.
All right, thank you, Tucker. Next up, Peyton Kunzelman, same question. Would you like it repeated?
No, thank you.
All right.
So I look at this in 2 parts. Tucker hit the nail on the head, transparency. This is something that the state committee currently, the ISC, is working diligently to accomplish, and I applaud them. For those who might not be able to make it and sit down or like actually, be actively involved, and you're not shared the link to the meeting, being able to watch it live, would be like so great that I can't even think of a word for it off the top of my head. But like, so you actually know what's going on, and also the minutes. You miss the meeting, you want to still know what happens, and you don't have to pry around with 5 different people on the ISC to find out. It's direct to the point way of knowing what happens. Next, for the second half of it, on forming the committees, having a competent county affiliate development chair. We have been slacking and lacking there over the last 2 years now, and certain aspects have made it hell for counties to actually develop and form in a proper way, because there's no communication, and sometimes we're even being told incorrect things, and it was a mess. And frankly, I don't think we'll have this issue come the current state committee, but we need to bring back this competency to this position. And I know there are many people who've been elected to the state committee that can do this. I yield the remainder of my time.
Thank you, Peyton. Next up, we have Mr. Dwayne Whitmer, same question.
Can you repeat the question one more time? Steve, can you repeat the question?
I'll have to pull up my Facebook Messenger again. Hold on.
Wait for you, Steve.
Whatever.
Okay.
So what steps will you take to ensure that each county has all the information necessary to form a legal committee under the new election law, or under our new status under election law?
Oof. So Peyton makes a good point. Our current outreach department is lacking. Again, we're all volunteers. We all work. We all have a lot of things going on. What we need to do is make sure that we don't focus on, and this is something that the ISC did, we focused on quantity of ISCs, not quality. Anyone that wanted to put 9 people in a room, here's your ISC, you're good to go do your thing, and then you're on your own. There was no outreach, there was no support, there was no helping fill out financial forms, there was no explaining how to do anything. It was, hey, here's your committee, you got 9 libertarians probably in a room, you're on your own. And that leaves people very isolated and upset. And don't forget, a lot of our county chairs also work full time. So it's not like they're a bunch of people who are getting paid to do this. Which is why putting people in leadership that have the time, money, energy, and resources to travel and work with these counties is so important. Communication is important, and outreach is very, very important. I believe Paul Seacrest mentioned wanting to be involved in outreach. I think he'd do a great job. He's the people's chair. He's the 3rd vice chair. And so we need to have better communication. We need to have better leadership that's providing the support to the county chapters. We need to make sure if someone wants to establish a county chapter, they have the resources that are going to allow them to do so. They have the training allowed to do so. And our outreach needs to be more than one person. We need 4 or 5 people on this team that are willing to travel to these counties and meet with them and help them set it up, that are willing to show them how to open a bank account, that know the financial election law and have the time to answer the phone calls. What you have right now is, county chair, 2 of my counties in my district don't have ICOs yet. And I promise by November, they will at least be in the running or developing one. I've said that when I started running, and I stand by it. But what happens is right now, someone in Livingston County tries to get hold of our outreach team. They don't respond for that week. They respond 2 weeks later. Well, now 2 weeks have gone by. Now they're busy, and it just turns into a phone tag. We need to make sure that people we're putting in leadership positions have the ability to be in leadership. We have to stop promoting people because they're friends of ours or because we like them or because they're cute. And we need to start putting people in positions that can do the job. That's the difference between what we have right now and what we need to be. We need to be a well-oiled machine. We need to make sure that we're putting the people with the ability to do these things, and they're time consuming. If you don't have the time to spend 3-4 hours a week doing this, then don't be afraid to not get involved. And that's unfortunate, but it's true. A lot of this stuff takes time. So we need better communication to county chapters, better outreach, and make sure the leadership is working with these counties often. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Dwayne. Now we go to Pietro, same question.
All right, I'm going to address the second part of that question first. I think it's great for counties to establish a duly elected committee. I think it's a great way to recruit libertarians and inspire people to get involved. However, if you live in Herkimer or St. Lawrence County, that's going to be quite a chore, as those counties are gigantic, reaching out to all those election districts and canvassing and getting petition signatures. And some other county committees might find that to be dilatory and would prefer to go another route in terms of recruitment. So, of course, the idea of having simply a county committee, or a county organization, rather, is excellent, and I'm glad that we have that. It certainly helped us here at Orange and around the state. I serve on an unofficial rules committee that has been meeting over the summer to draft a new set of rules for the Libertarian Party of New York. And I pushed forward the proposal that any county affiliate can become an official county organization if they get 2.25% of all registered libertarians in the room. Now that got modified to 3%, and it comes with some other requirements, such as there have to be 4 officers elected. But I still think that that new rule will be a boon to our smaller counties who want a libertarian affiliate. And I think it will go a long way in filling out the map of New York State counties with gold county organizations. So those counties will appear gold on the map. As far as communications goes, I agree with Tucker. We should be live streaming our meetings, or well, I guess it will be our meetings in September. I'm not on it yet. But those meetings should be live streamed. The minutes should be published, not just on the website, but emailed to county chairs so that they can disseminate those minutes as they see fit. I think there should be space for public comment on these meetings. I mean, I understand sometimes you have to go into closed session, but otherwise the public should be able to see everything and should be able to comment. agenda should also be published to the website, as well as emailed to the chairs of each county affiliate. People should know what the committee proposes to do, not just see the result or see everything in action. They should have some idea going in of what the state committee is setting out to achieve. Additionally, as vice chair, I would absolutely maintain constant communications with our county affiliates, as well as leaders trying to establish a county affiliate, giving them tips, advice, making trips out as my time allows, and helping them lay the initial foundation for a successful county affiliate. I think we should have a database maintained, as well as publishing ideas of what other county committees have done. How has Dwayne's affiliate been so successful when we have several large counties in the Hudson Valley that still haven't gotten official status? What are they doing that some of these other counties are not doing? If those ideas are public, other county leaders will see that and replicate it, and they'll be able to see the same success. I think we should also foster inter-county communications. It's been mentioned before, the join or die snake is split up into a million pieces, and that's not a recipe for success. So we want to get those pieces together, and that involves inter-county communications, including joint meetings between county affiliates every so often. Organizing together, planning events together, planning a similar agenda. So Dwayne is in Erie County, has popped up on messages. Yeah, Erie County's been successful. We want those other counties we want all counties to share in Erie's success, and we need to share that. And I think that also starts with inter-county communication, so that we can share ideas, establish a congruent agenda, work together to coordinate as far as campaigns go, so we don't just have to rely on the state committee to support candidates. County affiliates can come together and establish their own mechanism of support, so that by the time we get to 2022, every county will be Erie County. We'll see all that success statewide, and we'll see more libertarian candidates elected, and we'll see very strong county affiliates ready to take on the Republicans and the Democrats and ready to win.
Thank you so much, Pietro. All right, that brings us to our final question for the Q&A session. And this starts with Tucker. Finally, if elected to vice chair, what would be your first initiative that you believe the executive committee should take on?
Ooh, there are so many. I think the first initiative that we should do is to, as we move into the election, focus on our candidates. And I'll probably sound pretty repetitive here, but ultimately, as we addressed it a little bit earlier, I don't think that we have been successful as the interim state committee in helping our candidates. And I don't think that that's a new problem. I think that the Libertarian Party in the past has not done a very good job in helping its candidates. So one of the first things I want us to do is to set up an active candidate support committee. And I want us to increase our outreach to candidates that are currently running, learn what they need, actually engage with their campaign managers or with the candidates if they don't have one, see if they're looking for volunteers, see if we're able to offer them any sort of financial assistance if we have funds, and making sure that we are supporting our candidates through November. The second part to this, which I believe for me, it also falls under candidate support, is making sure that we retain our ballot access. We're going to have a really, really tough fight here to make sure that we are able to meet the higher thresholds that the Democrats and Republicans have thrown on us. And we can do that if we are actively engaging with our existing candidates and they're going out, spreading the libertarian name. And when people go to the polls and vote for one of them, they also vote for our top of the ticket for Joe Jorgensen. We need to make sure that we are actively pushing our presidential ticket, because otherwise we won't have a party after we won't have a ballot line at least after November, and it'll be very, very difficult to get one back based on the rules that have been thrown on us. So it all comes down to supporting candidates for me, supporting our candidates that have a chance to win, supporting our candidates that have a chance to make history, and supporting our top of line ticket so that we can retain ballot access.
Thank you so much, Tucker. Okay, so Peyton, same question. Would you like it repeated?
No, thank you.
All right.
So when we convene at the end of September, we'll have a month and a week till November 3rd. So supporting our candidates is a must. They're in the last stretch of their campaign. This is when the other parties will play dirty. That's when they'll start to smear us. We need to have all available resources that we can have to defend and help our candidates. The Libertarian Party of New York needs this election, and we will not achieve our ballot access directly through just supporting the presidential candidate, even though that's what we need. This will be done, like Tucker said, through the support of our down ballot candidates, because when they're campaigning, they will be able to reinforce that Joe Jorgensen and Spike Cohen are our presidential and vice presidential nominees. And there are candidates that they reflect whatever candidate's campaigning believes in, because they represent our party. We need to hit that home, and we need, as a party, to provide the literature and resources to our candidates to make sure the presidential candidates also get out there. So it'll be a win-win, providing the literature, the pamphlets, just anything that they can also pass out when they're out and about or at events, to make sure people know to vote for Joe Jorgensen and Spike Cohen. And this, might have a financial cost to it, and that would be, we could also work with the National Committee, which luckily we have a liaison with Tucker being, so involved, but also with the Jorgensen campaign. And I know we have quite a few connections there. So we could be able to get the proper literature and support that we need to make sure we continue to survive. And just, go back to what I said, we won't be able to do this without our down ballot candidates. So being able to provide them with that resource, and also, acknowledging they exist and being there for them if they have questions, if they need volunteers, if we have like a set of 5 people who have a free weekend in Western New York, why can't they go help out a candidate in, the middle of New York? If they can all carpool together, like, we have this infrastructure, we know who exists in the party, so we can move them around and hopefully be able to help out these candidates in the home stretch. So that's what I would like to implement in my, in the first month and a week of being vice chair, is to provide these resources and just to connect the infrastructure that's there at the moment. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Peyton. Next, we go to Dwayne Whitmer. Same question. Would you like it repeated?
No, I got it. First thing I would do is I'd work with Tucker to get his candidate support committee instated. That's a good idea. I really support that. And the second thing is actually communication and working with the county chapters. Right now, pending Jim Ostrowski being Jim Ostrowski and pulling one out and winning this court case against the state, we need 2% or 160,000 votes. We have a lot of people who aren't doing much for Jorgensen's campaign and supporting our candidates because they don't know what to do. They don't know what's going on. They're not being communicated with. There's no outreach. So my next part would be directly working with county chapters to make sure there's communication, there's outreach, and there's working together. As a candidate myself, as someone who worked on the Larry Sharp campaign, there's nothing more frustrating than wanting to do something for Larry Sharp, wanting to canvass, wanting to go to an event, wanting to do something, and no one else is there. You're the only one door knocking. You're the only one at a booth. You're the only one tabling. We're all human beings, and we like that groupthink. When there's 10 people doing something, when there's 20 people doing a sine wave, you feed off each other's energy, you feed off each other's excitement, and you're more than willing to do something. When it's one person sitting out there with a sign, it looks kind of sad and pathetic. So we need to make sure that we have the communication with these county chapters to get them involved, let them know what's going on, to whether it's support our candidates or grow enrollment. Also, I keep saying media, but media is free. It costs nothing to set up a podium, reach out to the press and say you're doing an event on something. And that's what the independent and blank voters and a lot of Republicans and Democrats who are upset see. And that's why they're going to join our party. What has Erie County done that no one else has done? We've done 40 press events the last year. The city of Buffalo hates me right now because every time Steve and I put our podium in Niagara Square, out comes the grounds guy to yell at us for using electricity, even though our mic is battery operated. We don't use electricity. Here he comes because he's got to justify his bureaucracy, his job. He has to justify his job. I can't say bureaucrat. I'm sorry, but he has to justify his $100,000 a year paycheck on your taxpayer dollars. So you're going to go yell at the guys doing a press event so that he can catch his paycheck. But I'll tell you what, you get the press, you get people involved. Nick Langworthy did a Back the Blue rally in Binghamton. Why did Nick Langworthy go? Because Nick Langworthy came to an event in Erie County, and the first question asked was, hey, how come a bunch of libertarians did an event in Niagara County calling out the Republican Party for their failure to stand up for gun rights and their failure to stand up for anything? So what did Nick Langworthy do? He came out of his cave and did his little circus act and showed up in Binghamton and said his little rally cries and got people fired up. And he said his generic talking points and didn't really do anything. But that's what we need to do. We need to provide ourselves a viable opportunity. We need to start hammering the press. We can't just have a couple people doing the same press events over and over again. If we have a coordinated attack in the media across the state, we are going to see enrollment. We're going to see donations. We're going to see voting. We're going to see mass gains in all of those things. So there you go.
Thank you, Dwayne. Moving on, Pietro, the question is yours.
All right. If I am elected vice chair day one, we make the bagpipes the official instrument of the Libertarian Party of New York. But more importantly than that, I will reach out to all the county chairs as well as the chairs of the subcommittees, and I will request and receive detailed plans on what they are going to accomplish in the next 2 years and how they are going to do that. More importantly than that, it is all hands on deck between now and November. We need those votes. We don't know how that court case is going to turn out. We need those votes for Jorgensen and our down ballot candidates, especially for Jorgensen, to maintain our ballot access. Because as Tucker said, if we lose ballot access, getting it back will be nearly insurmountable. So that means we need to disseminate phone numbers, addresses, what have you, all the information necessary, scripts, everything else that goes with it, to our county chairs, who can then disseminate it to their affiliate members, and they can organize phone banking sessions, door knocking sessions, texting, events, what have you, work with the national campaign staff in order to crank out the vote. We need a lot of votes, and it's not going to come easy. Some of it will be like pulling teeth, but you know what? We need plans to appeal to Democrats who maybe really don't like Joe Biden. We need to appeal to Republicans. Understand that it doesn't matter if you vote for Trump. Trump's not winning New York. Any idea that he is absurd. But if you like third parties, come vote Libertarian. Help us preserve our party. Reach out to the Greens who maybe aren't too thrilled with Harry Hawkins for some reason. Your Sam folks, your Independence folks. Certainly, I don't think the Working Families Party is going to be very happy with Joe Biden, no matter what their leadership says. We should have plans to reach out to these people and scripts in place in order to persuade them to support the Libertarian candidate, Joe Jorgensen, as well as any other down ballot Libertarian candidates. We need an organized, well-oiled machine in order for this to work. And the entire state committee should be dedicating its first meeting to working this out, to figuring out how we're going to coordinate a statewide get out the vote effort with help from national campaign staffers, maybe some assistance from our neighboring state affiliates. I don't know if our neighboring state affiliates' ballot access is on the line. I don't pay too much attention to those states. I pay attention to New York. But if they have ballot access secure, and they can spare some time and effort and energy to help us, that would be hugely appreciated. Nicholas Sarwark was able to win 3 terms as chair of the National Party. Maybe he can crank out some New York votes for Joe Jorgensen. Who knows? But we need to be reaching out to our neighbors as well as maybe other libertarians across the country to help save New York's ballot access, because New York as a big state has significance by having a strong third party. Other states will replicate what we do, and we need to be on top of this. We need a New York Libertarian Party that has ballot access, that is official and remains official as a beacon of light and a beacon of hope to other state affiliates, to inspire them to grow and run libertarian candidates and win. We have the potential to lead the nation in a gold revolution, and we need everyone else's help in order to make that happen.
Thank you so much, Pietro. All right, finally, Susan, this is the final question.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. So finally, if elected vice chair, what would be your first initiative that you believe the executive committee should take on?
Okay. I guess I'm just going to comment in general first. I heard everyone say ballot access, and that is what I would say. That should be our focus. But I just want to point out that everyone also said the state committee when they get elected. And I just want to point out that you're free to do these things now, and we need them now, and we need you to do them also, even if you don't get elected to vice chair. You can access voter records from the Board of Elections. We could pay for information on contacting people. There are lists now that we can use to, I got one from the Jacob Hornberger campaign, and it had, thousands of people on it that are registered or have voted libertarian in the past. And there's no reason that we shouldn't do that regardless of who wins. And we probably should start now, not 26 days from now. In addition, I think that the most important thing would be after the 26th, after the 27th, we have our elections. The state committee should define everyone's role, create an organization chart, like highlight who to contact for what. So if you had a question or a comment, or you needed some resources, election law, who to contact. Okay, and that information should be disseminated throughout libertarians that are working or campaigning in the state. And so the state committee's job is to organize our response and to support the candidates, and that we do maintain ballot access, because that really is going to make or break this party in the next, 45 days. I mean, this will be decided. It's 65 days, something like that, but it's going to make or break this party. And having ballot access, losing ballot access will tank us. And we don't want to do that. We need 160,000 votes regardless, and we can get there. And I don't know who said this before, but Trump might win this state. I mean, he really might. And so, the idea that Joe Biden's going to win, or, that we have to appeal to Democrats or Republicans, we just have to appeal to voters. Like, please vote for us. So, but yeah, ballot access. That's number one thing. Organizational chart.
All right.
And prepare to support our candidates and get those votes.
Thank you very much, Susan. All right, so now we're going to move into closing statements, and we're going to keep going how we've been doing it, going down the list. So we're going to start with Peyton Kunzelman. You're going to be the first one with closing statements, and go ahead.
Thank you. So, like I've said throughout this, we need to work together as a committee and as a party. We need to be done with our fighting. We need to be done with semantics. We need to pool all of our mental, physical, emotional, financial, and well, whatever other resources we have to make sure this party can continue to exist. Because come November, it's do or die. We don't want the liberty movement to fail now in our 0th hour. We're finally at a point where we can start to show New York we care and are able to finally, let me rephrase that. We're finally at a point where we can show New Yorkers who care that we're here. We've been growing, there's growing pains, but we're at a point now where it's time to learn from our growing pains over the last 2 years and start hauling ass and making sure that we can continue to support liberty-minded candidates and work against the state to make New York free. And I believe that with my experience thus far, and that with my knowledge of how the state party has been, I'd make a good candidate for vice chair. That I'd be able to work to strive, or I'd be able to work with the other members of the state committee, with any other libertarians, to make sure we are able to achieve our common goal. And I would just like to reflect on a few things that I've done where that can demonstrate leadership for those who don't know. Cattaraugus County has had a rough few years in our party's history so far. And I went up through the ranks pretty fast, and there was a vacancy for vice chair, and it was filled, and I, moved up from secretary, and then we had an investigation where we had to replace our chair, and leading that against your chair, who was a friend of yours at the time, not an easy thing to do, and it led to a lot of conflict. And I was able to resolve this and actually make Cattaraugus County benefit from there. And after the new administration started in the county, our enrollment increased, and I hope this will have a edge upwards slowly, but it's been a nice uphill fight, and I would hope to continue or bring that attribute to the state committee. And if not, I would love to work with any of these candidates in doing so, because I know they're all capable as well, and they're all people that are personable and able to get the job done. And I would like your consideration, but if you decide to vote for someone else, that's okay, because you're voting for someone who is passionate about the party, and you're voting for someone who is able to make the difference. You saw it today with what they said, and I know they'll deliver. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Peyton. Now we come to Dwayne Whitmer, closing statements.
Thanks, Steve. It's quite simple. A vote for me is a vote for direct action and media and communication. People will not vote for the Libertarian Party if they do not know the Libertarian Party exists, if they do not know what the Libertarian Party stands for, if they do not know what the Libertarian Party is doing. They're just not going to vote for us. We may get a protest vote, that's it. We've been covered across the state, Erie County, 30, 40 times this year, Watertown, Albany, Syracuse, downstate. Matter of fact, the Watertown event we did was covered in Guns and Ammo and Ammo USA, two national publications. Our lawsuit against Andrew Cuomo has been covered by Fox News. Actually, the event we did at Watertown, we got a direct response from President Trump and Elsie Stefanik. Granted, Trump's response was generic. No one supports the Second Amendment as much as I do, which we all know is garbage, but at least we're getting out there and we're doing things that are getting us massive attention. People see the Libertarian Party standing up for your rights. They now take us seriously. They consider voting for us and our candidates. If they don't know what the Libertarian Party is or that they're an option, they cannot vote for us. It's like advertising when you run a company. No one will use my tax firm if they don't know I exist, so we have to advertise. The ISC and the next state committee, we don't have Chris Collins, $70 million men donating $1 million to us to get an endorsement. We don't have the money to send constant mailers, to run commercials, to run ads. We rely on free media. I've done this dozens of times in the past year. We've done this countless times. That grows enrollment because people see who we are and they see we exist. The direct action raises donations. People are willing to donate to a cause. People that aren't going to donate to candidates that they don't feel are going to win, they're going to donate to causes. They're going to donate to doers. If we're doing events and we're doing activities, people will be willing to donate. We have to become direct citizen action groups as well. We need to start pushing engagement, and we need to start pushing outreach to the average voter by letting them know we exist. We've gotten massive press across the state. I've been covered in Pennsylvania, Florida, and New Jersey as well. So it's not just statewide press. If they don't know who we are, they can't vote for us. So we have to continue hammering the media. And as vice chair, every time we do a press event, they're going to see second vice chair of the Libertarian Party of New York. There we are. So there's your outreach. There's how you grow the party. There's how you grow donations, along with supporting candidates. It's pretty simple. So that's what a vote for me gets you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dwayne. All right, so we are going to move on now to Pietro, closing statements.
I want to first thank everybody who is watching. I also want to thank Steve for moderating and Andrew for the tech support. Oh, it's really starting to get dark out. I keep forgetting it's almost September. But anyway, we are at a pivotal moment in the history of the Libertarian Party of New York. And what happens in November, as well as who we elect to state party leadership, is going to have a profound effect on the future of this party. And we need to make sure that whoever is elected is able to run a tight ship and keep our internal affairs in order. I think I am the man for the job. I have a lot of leadership and administrative experience that I can bring to this position. I also have experience putting on events, mostly in college, one of which garnered an audience of around 200 to 300 students, as well as faculty, nearby community members. We got media attention. We were mentioned in Breitbart. We got put in USA Today. What else did we do? There was an overflow crowd, and I received an invitation to the White House a year and a half later to witness President Trump sign an executive order that was designed to protect free speech on college campuses. Now, I don't endorse the executive order as I have not read it. I don't know too much of what it does, nor do I endorse Donald Trump, but it was an honor to be present at the White House and to be an audience member for the President of the United States. Additionally, I was behind 3 successful events that the Orange County, New York Libertarian Party had put on, including our inaugural convention, which we met the quorum requirement. I had put in the elbow grease in order to meet that requirement, as well as a Larry Sharpe event in January, which saw the highest attendance of all such events that weekend. And I'm looking forward to another successful convention next month, as well as another Larry Sharpe event in October. My experience with leadership and administration goes beyond politics. It also goes into other groups and organizations that I've been a part of, including the Catholic community, keeping all those affairs in order, making sure we have music at Mass, as well as the mock trial team, ensuring that we had the funding and the transportation arranged so that we were able to go compete, have lodging arranged, have food arranged, and be sure that we were able to be successful in that. And I think it's important that there's somebody in the state committee holding accountable our county affiliate leaders and our subcommittee leaders. And it's also important to recognize that all of our ideas that we've presented thus far cannot be achieved by one man alone. It's going to be a team effort. And I'm prepared to work with the entire state committee, as well as the chair and the other leaders, in order to realize our collective vision. I think that every state committee member should be serving on at least 2 committees in order to help realize this goal, and that is something I am going to pursue if elected. Real leadership, real change. Piet for Vice Chair of the Libertarian Party of New York.
All right. Thank you so much, Pietro. We now come to Susan Cummings, closing statements. And if you need a little bit more time because you were not here for opening statements, I am fine with that.
I'm just gonna go real simple and tell you that a vote for me is a vote for a true believer. I believe in the libertarian message. I believe in the libertarian ideals. And I believe in myself and my ability to act independently. Yes, I prefer to organize and have the support of the state committee, but um, you know, I don't think it would ever stop me. you know, we can phone bank or do, mailers or, I heard someone say earlier, maybe we can get the right literature. We can make literature, guys. We could just print it. And, and I think maybe some of us still are involved from around the time of Ron Paul in 2008. But I mean, the beauty of the campaign or the campaign for liberty was specifically that so many people use their own time and resources. I mean, it was genuine and moving, the support that other people had for the Libertarian Party, even people that don't vote Libertarian today. Um, and we can't rely on national. We really can't even rely on the state committee. We have to rely on ourselves. And if you did, I threw my name in the ring because I just felt that I have a different style and you know, I wanted to put that out there as an option that I will put in the work, um, build coalitions and or work independently towards my goal, which ultimately, hopefully the voters share and the people on the state committee share to elect libertarians and genuine. It's just so that I can make my own choices in life and so that I can raise my children and so that I can decide what vaccines they get or, where they go to school or how my, you know, those decisions are made. Like I want more freedom in our political reality and I'm going to work towards that. So I thought I'd put my name into this debate. I thought I would ask for your vote. And the reason why is because I can do it and I have to do it for myself. I might as well do it for you too. Um, and so I appreciate your time and I'm looking forward to earning your vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. All right, let's throw it to Tucker for our final candidate to give us closing remarks.
Thank you. So I'm running for this position to build a better party. I'm running to build a more transparent party. I'm running to build a party that is independent, fully independent from the Democrats and Republicans and the power dynamic that tries to put down our movement. And I'm running for a party that is able to run winning campaigns, that is able to point to state legislatures and say, that is a gold seat in our state Senate. That is a gold seat in our state assembly. I'm running so that we are able to have competitive county legislature candidates. So we have county executives that are libertarians. I envision a future where the Libertarian Party is one of the two major parties in New York. But in order to get there, we have a lot to do. I am running for this position, as everyone else here is, because I think I'm the best person to be the first vice chair in the state party. And I'm so happy to see so many other people here that have that same sentiment, because we all have a lot to give and we all have a lot to do. I mean, I could go down the list. I'll keep it very brief, but I just want to compliment each of these people. Dwayne is probably one of the hardest fighters I've ever seen for his own campaign and has a lot to give in terms of helping us out in growing our county affiliates and being able to run competitive campaigns and garner media attention. Peyton has been fighting one of the most intricate and tricky situations in his county in terms of being able to grow while having some complicated leadership issues. Pietro is always fighting to help our candidates. He's an amazing student activist and we're very lucky to have him in the party. And Susan is always standing up for principles. I mean, always. And we'll always make sure that we are leading the Libertarian Party to a libertarian future. And so I'm so happy that all these people are committing to work with us in the future. And I know that there are so many more people in the party that have a lot to give. And it gives me hope for a more libertarian future. And I hope that you'll entrust me with your vote. I hope that you will fight with me for a party that is able to impact real change in the New York state government and to break our New Yorkers out of the oppressive systems that we live in right now. So if you would like to continue down that path, continue towards a path of more liberty, more freedom for all of us, more successful candidates, I hope you'll vote for me. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much, Tucker. Well, thank you to all of our candidates for agreeing to participate in this debate tonight. I think we all learned a lot. We have a very important decision. For those of you who don't know, our state convention / organizational meeting is going to be September 26th through 27th in New Rochelle. It is there where you'll be voting for your next 2 vice chairs. All of the 5 candidates here are phenomenal. And I think they'd all make a great vice chair. I apologize if you can hear the baby crying in the background. But they'd all make a great vice chair. I am deeply sorry that I have to leave and I won't be able to work with any of you folks on the state committee anymore. Fortunately, work had other plans. We're going to South Dakota. Yes, thank you so much. And additionally, I want to thank Andrew Colsty for helping with the technology side and the streaming to YouTube. We really couldn't have done this without him. Yes, I can't wait to see all of you in September at the state convention. And I hope you all enjoyed this debate. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Yes, thank you.
All right.